If I was hauled in front of a judge for the crime of having the most chaotic brain in the history of humanity, these 10 games would be Exhibit A. There are gentle Euros that take us through the bucolic serenity of the Tuscan hills, dumb party games that tap directly into the parts of my personality that haven't matured past early adolescence. Classic dudes on a map games and sleek deck builders. Not only does this show I'm as inconsistent as any holy book you'd care to mention, but also the sheer breadth of games that there are out there. These games are not just wonderful demonstrations of the ludological arts, though. They are arcs of memory. When I sat down to write this script, I was assailed by faces and locations bubbling up through the corrupted ripples of my brain. This is why these games are so valuable. They are not just an arid collection of mechanisms and art. They can bring people back from the dead. They can put you in touch with those you haven't seen in years. Objects are never just objects when they come into contact with people. And this list is as much a stroll through my past as an appraisal of games. And with that pretentious bollocks out of the way, I give you... This one is the OG, the first ripple in the rather small tide of microgames that followed in its wake. This is a game that has birthed many promising children, though. Button Shy Games and Air, Land and Sea are two notable examples. I don't think either of them really compare to this, though. There is a reason some things break through and grab people's attention. That's because they're brilliant. And Love Letter is brilliant. This game is so simple. You draw a card, play a card and do what it says. The way the card interactions are designed, though, are simply amazing. There is a hefty dollop of chance here, but also real strategy as you attempt to negotiate around without dying. The great satisfaction doesn't come, though, when you just take a guess and win. No, it's when you lure your opponent into revealing themselves and then deal the crushing blow. That's when Love Letter shines. Also, it's one of those games that is really short but so addictive you end up playing it all night. I don't play this one that often anymore, but when I do, I'm thrust back into the early days of my gaming when I thought every game was wonderful. And it's worth playing just to feel that naive joy again. This is another one of those beautifully simple games that just works so well. Everything you do here is essentially drafting a card, but the ripples that emanate out from those decisions result in brilliant future ramifications. It's a real loss to the tabletop world that Gil Hover has decided to step back from creating games because he's just so bloody good at it. The Networks perfectly exemplifies his game design ethos. The mechanisms are expertly honed so they clamp together perfectly to create a really satisfying whole. The concept of the tiny public access channel is gracefully delivered, and the art and spoof names of the show are brilliantly charming. There is genuine wit here, and that is a rare thing in board games. This is a game that shows an insightful mind at work, but isn't merely an intellectual exercise. It's also a bloody good game. There are a couple of games in this top 10 that needed expansions to fix them, and this is one of them. Without the expansion, Inish can drag on to the point of intolerance, but add in the expansion that changes the endgame conditions, and you have one of the most rip-roaring dudes on a map game to have come out in years. The card drafting is brilliant, the interactions that the cards promote are cacophonous, and the combat system is so simple that it doesn't gum up the workings of the game. There is no runaway leader here either. Someone can, through clever manipulation of the board and the rest of the players, leap to victory unheralded, and that is great. Also, the art and design here is so captivating. Jim Fitzpatrick's saturated psilocybin evocations of the mist-drenched Celts are so alluring, opening a world of mysticism and violence. You feel like you're there in Inish, and you want to stay there, because it's so magical. It took a while to get this one right. Eventually, you were treated to one of the most well-wrought worker placement games out there, but you did have to wade through a couple of half-baked versions first. This is Jamie Stegmaier's best design, and it's held in high regard for a reason. Viticulture is more like a journey than a game. While there are good decisions here, like many of Stegmaier's games, it holds your hand to a thoroughly pleasant experience. Every iteration of the game sought to make it easier on the players. The Grande workers are a good example of this. The goal is to give the players a pat on the back and a well done, and it does that brilliantly. It isn't perfect though. The two-season board isn't worth playing, and some of the cards are exceptionally swingy, but there's so much to delight in here. Its theme is one of bucolic serenity, and it conveys that through its mechanisms perfectly. It feels like a gentle tramp through the hills. Play Viticulture, and you will have two of the most pleasant hours you can spend. If this sounds a little like I'm damning it with faint praise, well, it might be because I am. There are no teeth here. But sometimes you don't want a game to take a bite out of you, and Viticulture certainly won't do that. Jamie Stegmaier wants gaming to be inclusive, and he sometimes confuses fun with friendly. Here, though, he strikes the right balance, and you come out of a game of Viticulture with a warm glow, like you've mixed together some red and white wine and had a nice glass of rosé. This is a Stefan Feld game that isn't spoken about as much as many of his more popular designs. This might be that it's a quick and easy Feld, but it's also an innovative one, and his use of multi-use cards here is really clever. In fact, Isla proves what a thoroughly clever bloke he is. Those multi-use cards, this is a game of planning, and the way you deploy the cards to different slots to hopefully make your round play out perfectly is a really knotty challenge. The game ramps up brilliantly too, as decisions from earlier rounds overlap into later ones, and there is a real feeling of working towards a greater goal. No decision here is isolated, they all contribute to your overall strategy. There is vindication of your decisions in this game, or not, if you're me. While this isn't programming, there is a feeling of constructing a machine and watching it wheeze and splutter into life. Feld's games can be intimidating, but in La Isla, he has a game that is light and engaging and a real pleasure to play. If you aren't super familiar with Feld, you could do a lot worse than treating yourself to this one. It will convince you, if convincing were necessary, that Stefan Feld is really a very clever bloke. When people are trying to sell you stuff, they will tell you all kinds of bollocks. So when Ignacy from Portal Games told me that he was publishing this Ukrainian design and it was nothing like you'd ever played before, well, I took it with a soupçon of sodium chloride. I needn't have. Tajemnicze Domostwo is a true original. Also, it's one of those great games that manages to engage all of the people around the table all of the time. There is no greater joy or frustration than seeing your colleagues around the table completely misinterpret your clue when you play the spirit, and you just have to sit there and let them do it. I mean, it's a bloody moon, and there's a bloody moon there. How stupid are you? Then, as the mediums, you have to try and prize apart the intentions of the lunatic sitting at the end of the table. This game is a riot. I mean, not a literal riot, as that would be rough, but I was completely blown away when I first played this, and I still love it to this day. Mysterium stuck some dildos in the box and added some weird point rules, but it's Tajemnicze Domostwo that will always have my heart. Woof, I love this game. It's easy, quick, challenging, and loads of bloody fun, and all of that delivered in an adrenaline-shot 15 minutes. Dominion was a revolution and presaged a whole raft of deck builders, some good, some shite, and most middling. What Star Realms does so well is fulfill its intention so perfectly. Star Realms wants you to use the deck building mechanism to deliver a punchy dueling card game, and it does it to a T. This is the gold standard for dueling card games that you don't have to mortgage your house to play. Each faction offers you a different style of play that you could explore, and the explosive way the factions interact is staggering. It caused such a ruckus when it came out because this might just be the finest pick up and play game out there. I've been playing this more and more recently, and it really is the perfect two-player filler. I love knocking one out, and I can knock one of these out in 15 minutes, and if I'm ashamed at the end, I just knock another one out. Star Realms is a real achievement, and I love it. One of the first games I bought as a gamer, I still play this one and I still love it. We all know that zombie stories are not about the zombies. The zombies are merely an accelerant to the drama, an extreme situation used to rip off the shallow accoutrements of civility and talk about who we are as the naked animal underneath. City of Horror is a great addition to the canon of zombie stories. You will find yourself doing anything to survive in a game of City of Horror. Throw the granny off the water tower? Sure. Feed the little kid to the ravening hordes? Well, I'd be stupid not to. In City of Horror, you can do it all. It's also shot through with a wicked sense of humour. This is the kind of humour that offends the kind of person who wants to assert something pure in our creation and will refuse to acknowledge the beasts that we truly are. A two-car garage doesn't change that. Adherence to some creed written by Stone Age murderers doesn't change that. City of Horror tells us what we are, and it's great. My mother was obsessed with horror. Her shelves were crammed with Dean Koontz novels. She delighted in the worst kind of schlock on the screen, bursting with vampires and werewolves and creatures coming out of lagoons. This rubbed off on me, and today I revel in the grotesque and the macabre. Whether it be the icy malevolence of The Shining or the amphetamine hilariousness of Evil Dead 2, if it's horror, I'll watch it. And I must assume this of Rob Daviau, because Betrayal Legacy knows its tropes and wields them out with delightful malevolence. There is none of the po-faced here. Betrayal Legacy tells you a story of gothic killing and evil rites that echo throughout history, and it's great fun. The story is genuinely compelling, and the legacy elements that pop up are really, really good. I had so much fun playing this, and that's what makes it so excellent. It's utter commitment to being fun, unabashed fun with buckets of blood and weird characters and running around a haunted house. If you are drawn to schlock and all of the attendant tropes, play Betrayal Legacy. You won't regret it. If this were a laughs per minute list, then Telestrations would be number one. Every time I play this, I hurt from laughing so much. Every time I play this with serious gamery types, they raise an eyebrow, but after one round, they are rolling around with the rest of us. Telestrations is pure joy in a box. There are other reasons I game, for mental stimulation, to pick apart the workings of a mind much more ordered than mine. I value these things in games. Maybe more than drawing cocks, and that's maybe why this game isn't higher. But if drawing cocks is your thing, and Telestrations is your thing, I have so many wonderful memories of this game. Late night boozed up at Lariacon in Portugal. Late night boozed up at game night. Late night boozed... No, wait a minute. Is it Telestrations I love or the booze? No, I'm pretty sure it's Telestrations. Pretty sure. Well, there we are. Another 10. Give this a thumb if you liked it. Also, for the rest of the list and loads more interesting stuff to come, subscribe to the channel. You can join the finest Discord in the land by clicking the link below, and if you want to be like these lovely people, you can support the show. The link is also down there. Now, I'm off to play Telestrations without having a drink to see if I really like it. Wish me luck.